And here we are, the annual video where Jordan ranks every new release he saw in this year. 2023 was a really good year for movies, actually. It turned out to be really good. We had some drama happening in the Hollywood landscape with writer strikes and actor strikes and all of these things. But all things considered, we have quite the year to look out here. Some probably all-time classics were released, and also some probably all-time bad, poopy movies as well, potentially. This year was kind of the beginning of the shift away from big blockbuster superhero stuff and shift towards creator-driven dramas and even comedies and things like that. Just people are looking for more things that are made by people who are passionate about the art and less passionate about big purple men with lasers shooting into the sky. So, I'm going to be taking you through everything I saw in 2023, pretty much, starting with the worst thing I saw this year. So I got two MCU properties here at the bottom of the list. This is on Letterboxd, so it counts. Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion is the show where Nick Fury comes back to Earth, and the green guys have run amok, and he's got to stop them. But this is the most directionless, strange thing the MCU has ever put out. Terrible, terrible thing. Next we have the worst MCU movie that came out this year. AntMan and the Wasp: Quantumania. Terrible title, terrible movie, terrible villain. It's even worse now because that villain is actually a villain in real life.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I don't have much to say about it. This is slightly above Secret Invasion because I actually thought some of the jokes landed, and I actually don't mind. Villain from the first one has a really big head and a really tiny butt. That was a good joke. It's terrible, though. It's just, they're just throwing things at the wall, and none of it is working. Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. I saw this with my friend Ethan. Shout out to Ethan. I enjoy some of the Transformers movies. I like some of the Michael Bay ones. I haven't seen the Mark Wahlberg ones, and I never will because I don't like Mark Wahlberg. But I thought this was the most boring movie I saw this year. I have never fallen asleep in a theater more than I did watching this one. I can't even tell you what it's about. It's like all of the Transformers movies where they gotta find like a box or a shard or like a sword or a trident or something like that, and they had to get the little thing to stop the bad guys from taking over the world and turning the Earth into a big robot box or whatever, like they do in the Transformers movies. I don't know. But this time around, some of the Transformers, they're trucks and cars, and some of the Transformers are monkeys and birds and stuff. 65. I was really looking forward to 65 because I saw that a movie was coming out called 65 starring Adam Driver, and it's about Adam Driver and dinosaurs. And that sounds like a really good time. They made it the most predictable and boring version of that thing that it could possibly be. Adam Driver just running amok with a little girl. He's got to get through all of this stuff like every movie you've ever seen, and the dinosaurs aren't that interesting. And here's the thing about it, is like,
this would be more interesting if the tagline of the movie...
The Flash. I was looking forward to The Flash. I must be honest with you. If you listen to the show, you know that I was looking forward to it. It's very strange because it's a pretty okay superhero movie. It's a pretty okay Flash movie with some good Flash moments. But at the same time, this is the first time I think I've ever gone to the movie theater and have seen a movie that wasn't finished. I think they forgot to finish it and they put it out just thinking that people wouldn't notice. And we're going into the "that was cute" category, from last year when you see a movie with your mom and it was just kind of like an okay movie, but your mom, she's like, that was cute, that was a cute one. The Super Mario Bros. Movie. I feel bad that it's this low on my list because it's a really fun, cute movie, but there's one specific aspect of it that I think really just angers me. So you're watching a Super Mario Brothers movie, a movie in a character and in a world that has this iconic music, right? one of the most recognizable video game theme music of all time, right? So you're watching a Mario movie, and every time Mario does something, they play an 80s pop song instead of the most iconic video game music of all time. They choose Take On Me or Running Up That Hill or like other 80s music. And it's just frustrating. But all things considered, pretty cute movie. I saw it twice. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I literally forgot that existed. It was really okay. It was cute. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't offensive. It wasn't necessarily boring. It was just kind of a fun adventure with Indiana Jones being like 90 years old, running around, running amok, climbing up walls and stuff. It's good that he gets to do that. He gets to go time travel and go to Sicily or whatever. It was fun. Here we have a movie that has sparked much controversy within this little duo here. Me and my co-host, okay? Rebel Moon - Part 1: A Child of Fire. I think that this movie had so much potential, and it wasted almost all of that potential. Zack Snyder, I believed in him. I like a lot of his movies. I love Batman vs. Superman, for example. But Rebel Moon, it's just copy-paste from a bunch of movies you've ever seen. It's hacked together. It looks if you put a 10-episode series and you cut it all together into 2 hours and just slammed it together and expected to make a good movie out of it. It feels manipulative and it feels wasteful. It was very disappointing. I give him some points because I know that he is passionate about this movie and that he's passionate about the movies that he makes. And he is a good artist. So he gets points up there, but disappointing, to be sure. Knock at the Cabin. Knock at the Cabin was the first movie I saw in 2023. It's an M. Night Shyamalan, not really horror, but suspenseful thriller type of movie. It's more just suspenseful. It's not really a thriller. What's his name? Jonathan Groff and another guy and their daughter go to a cabin, right? And these 4 people show up, led by Dave Bautista. Dave Bautista gives an amazing performance, by the way. And Ron Weasley is there. But it's a really compelling story based on a book, I believe. I enjoy the kind of commentary that it brings up about they're essentially the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, right? So they come to the cabin, they're like, the world is ending, we need your help to stop it. And I enjoy the commentary that comes up with them and what they're trying to do and if this thing is really happening and the implications of that sort of thing, implications of a god who would create a world and destroy it. I do think once it gets to the ending, the conclusions that it comes to are a little bit on the nose and a little bit too straightforward. So that's why it's not totally high up on my list. It's a pretty good one. Asteroid City is a movie by Wes Anderson. And this confirmed to me that I'm not really a Wes Anderson guy, to be totally honest with you. I know everybody kind of loves Wes Anderson and the things that he does. I haven't found that much to enjoy about it, to be totally frank. I think that the creativity of the, direction, cinematography, sets, and everything of this movie specifically are what put it above some of the rest of these. I just found the narrative to be a bit jumbled for me. I didn't really understand what it was doing, what it was saying, and I didn't find it particularly funny or interesting. But the vibes are there, but it just didn't quite have that extra step to put it above most of these. But the performances are all there. The vibes are all there. I wish there was more Steve Carell. Napoleon has gone down quite a bit in my list as I thought more about it. It's obviously a retelling of Napoleon's life, and that's its strength and its weakness, right? It's a biopic, which I enjoyed, but the director, Ridley Scott, has been open about how he doesn't care to make it historically accurate. It's kind of it's a fictional retelling of this real-life man, kind of leaning into the mythology around him. So it is both a series of events, and also you're like, this didn't actually happen, probably. So it left so much to be desired in way of character development and motivation, even though it's there with Joaquin Phoenix playing Napoleon and Vanessa Kirby playing his wife, Genevieve or Jacqueline or whatever her name was, Josephine. It just left a lot to be desired because it was so point A to point B, but not much to get you invested in these characters, and also just disgusting time period in real life. Just disgusting. Hygiene is not in the question. People are just gross and wearing big hats all the time, and it's just not some place that I want to hang out, and I don't want to watch it again. It's this high on my list because the direction is very good, and I enjoy the way Ridley Scott directs, and the feeling of his movies. They feel very, very real, which is desirable. Next we have Shazam, Fury of the Gods, starring Zachary Levi and others. It was cute. It was just a nice superhero time. The first movie is good because it has Zachary Levi and Asher Angel, I think his name is, that plays young Billy. They have more of young Billy and less of Zachary Levi. In this one, you have a lot of Zachary Levi and not very much of young Billy, which I think really, it's wanting you to connect with Zachary Levi as Billy, but the emotional weight kind of hinges on your relationship with young Billy and his relationship with his siblings. So you didn't really get that because it's just Zachary Levi making jokes the whole time. It's a very fun superhero movie that I'll rewatch maybe once. Next we have The Boy and the Heron. This was unfortunately only my second Miyazaki film, and I enjoyed aspects of it. I enjoyed the animation, the world that it builds. But other than that, I found it extremely confusing. And I'm not usually that movie was confusing guy. But I left that theater like I have no idea what that was. Probably because I haven't seen any of his other movies. But it gets many points for the craft, and you can tell, obviously, this is a man who is making so many amazing movies and is so passionate about it. So that's great. The Killer, directed by David Fincher, starring Michael Fassbender. It's about an assassin who thinks he is the best. The first 15 to 20 minutes of the movie are awesome because it's just a monologue of him being like, I'm the best of the best, and you got to do all these things if you want to be the best. You got to wake up early, you got to go to bed early, you got to eat low-carb diet because you got to be steady with that trigger. You know what I'm saying? And the first thing he does is he screws up immediately, and then that kind of kickstarts the rest of the movie. That was awesome. A very well directed, very well acted, vibey movie about Michael Fassbender going through this life. So I enjoy the craft there and the central performance and all of that, so that it gets many points for that. I do wish it was a bit more of other things, but I think this will be a fun rewatch to kind of catch the details that I'm sure I missed. And it's David Fincher, and it was pretty good. This is the pretty good. Next in the pretty good category, we have Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Another movie that I kind of forget came out, but I do remember having a lot of fun with it. I think it is a very fun fantasy movie. Chris Pine has a great performance in it, and it's very funny. It has really good fantasy elements, and obviously Dungeons and Dragons elements that I haven't played, but I'm sure are great for you guys. And I hope it gets a sequel. Probably too much 80s music as well, if I remember correctly, but I respect this movie a lot. It was a lot of fun. Pretty good. No One Will Save You was released on Hulu, starring Caitlin Dever. It is a home invasion movie of sorts, right? I'm going to go ahead and say it's an alien home invasion movie. It's not really a spoiler because you can tell by all the marketing. This movie is really interesting because it could have been a kind of by the numbers thing, but the main actress doesn't say a word for the entire movie. She is completely silent, and all of the characters that you see are completely silent. So it made this, it puts you on edge because you're not getting what you're used to getting in movies, which is dialogue. So you're really just immersed in every step that she takes, everywhere she looks, every object she picks up, and you're really just put on your headphones, you immerse yourself in what's that? Because this is my life, where I'm sitting in my house and there's a sound in the corner, and I'm like, what's that? It's very spooky, but really interesting and fun. Pretty good. Poor Things. Poor Things is a movie I was really looking forward to, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, starring Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, Willem Dafoe, others. Great cast. This movie is pretty high on my list because it is just created and crafted in this beautiful style that I think you need to see. The choices they make with set design and costume design and the little creatures. It's a fantasy, fable, all just kind of magical and mystical. And he leans into that with his direction and his camera, lenses and camera angles and that sort of thing. It just makes it's a movie that you feel like you're watching the best painter paint a painting, right? Unfortunately, there's an aspect of the movie that will keep me from potentially ever rewatching it, and I probably am not going to recommend this to many people just because it's a lot. It is a lot. Moving on. This is the solid stuff category. Okay,
Solid stuff.
Fast X. Okay, everybody. Fast X is all the way up here. I had so much fun watching this movie. I can't even express to you. I love the Fast and Furious movies. This one is kind of, it gets more points because of my theater experience, right? I was out of state and I had some hours to myself and I went to see Fast X in this really cool fancy movie theater, and it was me and it was 3 guys 5 chairs down from me, right? We were the only people in the theater. They were like a group of friends that came and just me by myself sitting kind of next to each other as the movie unfolds, and Jason Momoa is there and he is having the time of his life, and Vin Diesel thinks he is the coolest man in the world, and every time something crazy happens, like me and this group of guys were just like,
dang, are you seeing this right now? I mean, this is crazy.
The creator, I was very much looking forward to this, as was my co-host again. A science fiction movie directed by the director of Rogue One, an amazing looking movie. The trailers for this looked awesome. However, they did spoil the entire movie for me, which was a bummer. It's amazing because listening to the director and people who worked on this movie talk about it, the idea behind it was essentially, what if we take a general market level camera? It's like a little Sony camera. Can we make a beautiful science fiction blockbuster with a very limited budget? I think they made this for like $80 million, which is pennies compared to some of these big blockbusters, right? And they took this camera, they went out to these beautiful locations and they shot all this stuff, all their actors and stuff, and then they kind of wrote a movie after all of the shooting happened. Which is kind of backwards how they would normally do it. And I think because of that, it leaves a bit to be desired in the plot area and the character motivation area. However, this is probably the best looking movie of the year. Gareth Edwards has a great way of showing scale and making you feel like you're on the ground with these characters and all this stuff. So hold on, I'm going to check something. Biggest surprise of the year coming up here, Wonka. Wonka was a huge surprise. I was not looking forward to it. I was not going to see it, but once it came out, I heard all of these rumblings and discussion about that it was actually really fun and really cute. So I went to go see it, and I had just a great time. It was super fun, super cute, wholesome. It's a musical, which was a huge surprise. They didn't tell you that it was a musical going in, so that was a nice surprise to hear Timothée Chalamet open the movie with a little song and dance. I mean, that was great. It's a good movie for the holidays and all of this stuff. It's just something that I think I will rewatch probably every year. And he's just trying to make his way. He wants to share his passion, his chocolate with the world. And he's fighting against these greedy people at the top of the chocolate cartel, right? And they put all this together with really fun musical numbers and really sweet character moments, and it's just really, really nice, really cute. Next we have Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle, one of the last movies in the DCEU, potentially carrying on over into James Gunn's DC universe. This is a really fun superhero movie. It has what Shazam didn't have, which was a really consistent center of family and warmth and heart, and the main character, Jaime Reyes, his motivation is always to protect his family and all of this. And he's the reluctant hero, right? Like, he doesn't want necessarily to be Blue Beetle, but he has to be to protect his family from the kind of capitalistic elite who is tearing down his family's neighborhood to build their high rises and all this stuff. So it's that kind of simple plot put together with this magical, mystical scarab that gives him superpowers. Performances are really good. The action is really fun. It's just like solid, fun superhero summer movie. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. I had a great time watching this one as well. Animation that is continuing the move towards these more creative, more creator-driven animation styles that look and feel different from things you've seen before. Again, like iconic group of characters played by actual teenagers, which was a huge help for this movie. It made you feel like you were, watching the four group of brothers, like, doing their ninja thing, going against a bunch of mutated creatures, which was really fun. Soundtrack is really good. The camaraderie of the four turtles is really good. Animation is amazing. I'm just gonna keep saying things are really fun and really good. The Iron Claw, I'm so glad that I scrapped my entire first take of this video so that I had time to see the Iron Claw before putting it into my list. I really thought this was one of the best movies of the year. Zac Efron is as good as everyone is saying that he is in this. He and Jeremy Allen White and two others, they play four brothers led by their father, Fritz von Erich, who was a wrestler before them. And he didn't get his shot to be the best, right? So he has these four sons, and he is determined for them to kind of finish his legacy and bring home the title, right? So he has raised them to be wrestlers, and they have just immersed themselves into this world. It's become their identity, and it's a movie that it's about the endless pursuit of titles and glory, and they want to be the best in this sport, or whether it's sports or music. It's a critique on what we've built as a culture to reward pursuit of perfection, right? Even when it is just so clearly obvious to us that these people are putting themselves through hell to become the best, we do nothing to stop it because it's entertainment, right? We want to see good entertainment, good performers, good entertainers. These things, they always end in tragedy. Beautiful film that left you devastated, but also with the hope and responsibility to be better. Creed 3. I love the Creed movies. I love Michael B. Jordan. And this one, where Creed has kind of moved beyond the ring, like he's gotten all the titles, all of the accolades, and he's now moved to like coaching and keeping his the boxing gym going when he's visited by Jonathan Majors' real-life villain.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
He just got out of prison. You find out they were friends as kids. So you're asking Creed for his shot. He wants to get back into boxing because he wants to be the best again. And then we find out he probably doesn't have the best of intentions. So it's this very tense rivalry between these two long-lost brothers in a way. It's a very tense movie. The boxing scenes. This is Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut. It's directed very well. The action scenes are very creative and epic. John Wick Chapter 4. Okay, so John Wick Chapter 4. The final chapter, probably not, of John Wick. I mean, what can you say? It's a John Wick movie. It's probably the best John Wick movie. The best action scenes of the year, choreographed masterfully. There's a top-down action sequence that is the best action sequence of the year, and it was jaw-dropping. All right, everybody, it's the top 10 movies of 2023. And I bet you're wondering, Joshua, I haven't mentioned one of these movies yet. Would I really put this movie in my top 10? Would I? Yes. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I feel no shame. I thought this movie was everything I could possibly want it to be. I love the first Aquaman movie. I've said many times, and I'll say it again, Aquaman 2018 is one of the best comic book movies ever made. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom comes in and it says, what if we do all of that and we dial it up to 11 and we really go silly? It's hard to even express because I know that I'm probably the only one who would like this movie. And this one's for me. This one's just for me. But I love these two. I think the relationship between, again, Arthur and Orm, he has to break Orm out of prison, and they have this fun brother dynamic. And Yahya Abdul-Mateen is playing Black Manta, and he's just going off, and he's just evil for evil's sake, and he wants to kill Aquaman and everyone he's ever loved, and that sort of thing. And it has James Wan's spectacular direction, expands the world of Atlantis and the other kingdoms in the ocean, ripped directly from the comic books that I would enjoy, and I loved it. Do I feel shame? No, I don't. The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This one was kind of surprising as well. I wasn't sure if I was that excited for it. I haven't read the book. I enjoy the first, Hunger Games movies. I really like Rachel Zegler and Tom Blythe as actors, and I think their duo is what makes this movie really soar. I respect this movie for allowing Rachel Zegler to sing as much as she does, and to embrace that aspect of the source material, because I think in a worse movie they would have probably cut out a lot of the songs and musical aspects, and you can tell that it's, she is actually really good, and it's not just auto-tuned to heck. They lean into the region that she's from, the Appalachian kind of style, bluegrass style of music that she would have been singing. I know they worked closely with Suzanne Collins as well to make sure that the songs were what she had in mind and all that stuff. So I think all of that combines into a really well-crafted movie and an adaptation of the source material, as well as just being really compelling as a prequel to the Hunger Games, seeing the early version of what would become Katniss and Peeta in the arena. I like a good solemn time. It's a very heavy, solemn, where it's going, and I thought they did that very, very well. Next we have Barbie. I really, really loved Barbie. There's some aspects of it that keep me from putting it higher. I think the aspects of it that I love are Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling is my favorite guy. I love that guy. They're very funny. And this movie has an amazing emotional heart to it. The character motivations are all there. There are aspects with Will Ferrell's character and the real world Mattel Corporation that I think really bog this movie down a bit, and keep you from immersing yourself completely. But there is a good commentary there with what Ken discovers about the patriarchy in horses and beer and guns and stuff. That commentary about what it is to be a man in the real world versus what it is to be a woman in the real world and Barbie world, and how that all combines, and motivations behind it and all of that. Great stuff. I'm sure it'll get all the awards it deserves. Killers of the Flower Moon is next. I wasn't even really planning on seeing this one. I don't really know why. I'm not against long movies. I think that's why a lot of people didn't see it. I'd heard amazing things about the performances. I'm not really a Martin Scorsese guy. I haven't seen most of his movies, but I watched it when it came out on Apple TV, and I loved it so much more than I thought I was going to. I did watch this over several viewings, but I found it so compelling, and the central performances, I keep saying central performances, the performances by the central people, Lily Gladstone and Leonardo DiCaprio, are enough to keep this movie going. You're so invested in what Leo is going to be doing and what Lily Gladstone is responding to it, and their dynamic with Robert De Niro. And you're just waiting for just these terrible things to happen because you know they're going to happen. But you think maybe there's some real love there. Maybe there's some ray of hope that can be found there. It's a story of just the deep depravity of humanity and our endless pursuit for money and territory and power, regardless of who we have to, take out of the picture. And this terrible time in American history, this terrible thing that we did. I just found this movie very compelling in that way. Maybe I won't rewatch it a ton, but everything about it was just so immersive in what movies should be. Martin Scorsese is one of the greats, and he made another great one. Now, this might have been my most anticipated movie of the year, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. I love the Mission Impossible movies, the franchise. I think all of them have strengths. All of them are pretty good. The second one, not as much, but I like everything else. The one negative out of the way, it's a part 1, so it doesn't really end. We gotta wait for the sequel, and that's the only thing that keeps this from being higher on my list. All that being said, this movie doesn't disappoint. It is so much fun. I love Tom Cruise and his commitment to the bit in making these action movies. They add Haley Atwell to the cast, who's amazing. This is the best movie about artificial intelligence that came out this year. The villain is this all-powerful AI entity that's kind of been unleashed into the world and is being used by this man named Gabriel, who has evil intentions to take over the world and everything. It has a very interesting commentary about the types of people and types of leaders that would want to use something like an all-powerful AI and what they would want to use it for, but also it's artificial intelligence, so what does it want, and is it using them to get its own goals, and who is actually in control, and how can you stop AI?
You can't punch AI in the face, Tom Cruise. What are you going to do? You got to get the key to do the thing.
And that's what the movie's about. But you got to wait for the sequel also. But this is really fun. I loved it a lot. We're in the top 5. Top 5, here we go. Number 5. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The conclusion to the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. And the conclusion to the conclusion to the good MCU movies, probably. I don't know if we'll ever get another good one, but this one is good. It has the stellar cast of characters, and it takes what you love about those movies and it dials it up to 11, and it has this just tragic backstory of Rocket Raccoon and his relationship with the villain of this movie, the High Evolutionary, touching on the potential abuse of what we perceive as lower life forms, right? What we do and how we use our resources and quote lower life forms, what that does to them, and as well as just being a very fun science fiction movie where they travel to this planet where they made like 300 prosthetic animal masks and all these things where they go, everyone's like a bunny or a rabbit or a elephant or like a panda or like a bird. And it's just extremely well made. It's intentionally heart-wrenching, amazing conclusion to these characters that we've, literally like grown up with since my early teenage years, right? It's great, incredible stuff. Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse, high on the most anticipated movies list, right? We were all looking forward to this movie. Everybody loves the first Spider-Verse movie. One thing that holds this movie back is that it's a part 1. Who knows when the next one will come out? It could be 2 years, it could be 10 years. It's not coming out next year for sure. We'll at least have to wait 2 or 3 years. So that is a huge bummer. This movie, and I know this opinion is contested by my co-host, I think it is very satisfying at the end. Yes, you want a part 2, but it does have a consistent starting point and ending point with Gwen Stacy's character. It's kind of takes the lead in this movie. Miles Morales is obviously probably more predominant, but what Gwen Stacy is going through and has gone through is set up at the beginning and concluded at the end. And I think it's really good, really solid animation, obviously, without even saying it. The animation is good. The score, contender for best score, contender. But I love everything about this movie. The performance from Oscar Isaac as Spider-Man 2099, everything that is revealed about Miles Morales and his character, his Spider-Man, his life, what's going to happen, what has happened in the past already. The Spot is a very funny movie. It feels larger than life. These movies, Spider-Verse movies, are comic books from page to screen. I'm so glad that I got to see it. It's a privilege. I'm just blessed to be here watching this movie right now. Another huge surprise was Godzilla -1. Godzilla movie out of Japan, Toho Studios. This was a huge surprise. I was looking forward to it. I knew it was coming out. I like Godzilla a lot. I expected this to be a really fun Godzilla movie. I didn't expect this to be one of the most emotional human stories of the year. It's about a guy who was a kamikaze pilot in World War II, and he chickens out of his duties to be a kamikaze pilot. And when he shows back up having failed his duty Godzilla shows up and starts wrecking everything. And he feels this responsibility both for what happens to these people when Godzilla first arrives and also what happened at the end of World War II, right? He feels like he could have stopped these things from happening because Godzilla is a metaphor for nuclear warfare, nuclear holocaust, essentially. He always has been. And the movies have always been a critique on how governments and the people in charge have responded or would respond to this type of threat. So this movie brings together this cast of characters, people from different walks of life. The main character is kind of stumbles into this family relationship, this wife and daughter relationship. And there are these other guys who he meets along the way. When it dawns on them that their government has turned their backs on it, on them, because they are focusing on, I think it's because of U.S.-Soviet tension, they have turned their back completely on the Japanese people. And these guys, these individuals, have to bring themselves and their community together. They're like, we have to do something. So it's a story about the power of community and human will to change and do something against impossible threat, right? So it has this incredible human moral center while also being an amazing monster movie, and who's just, it's big and loud and terrifying and horrifying and just great stuff, explosive. All right, guys, there are 2 movies that I gave 5 stars this year. There are 2 perfect movies here. The first being Past Lives. I've been telling people, if you are gonna see one movie from 2023, I really would like you to see Past Lives, even over the next one, probably. There's something so special about Past Lives, the way that it feels wholly and completely genuine and real. It feels so real that you almost feel bad that you are being led in on these people's lives. You are led in so closely to these people's intimate relationships with each other. In friendship and relationship, you're in the room with them. And it's like, I don't think I should be here for this conversation they're having. Like, this is too personal. It has long, drawn-out sequences of characters speaking to each other through a Skype call, through computer screen. The narrative revolves around who I am now and who I could have been if things were different. It's a string of what-if scenarios, what-if questions. There are things and people in my past that could have stuck there, but this is who I am right now, and how do we as humans think about and how do we move forward knowing that things could be different, even though they are the way that they are now, even though we're not discontent with what things are now. But when this individual shows up from her past, it becomes more complicated and the questions become more deep, and she's being pulled in these directions, right? So it's a really powerful story about being human and the complexity plus the simplicity of our lives and the things we choose to do and the people we choose to be with and all of that good stuff. And of course, the number 1 movie of the year, Oppenheimer. I don't know if I expected Oppenheimer to be as good as it is. I can't remember what I was expecting. All I remember is seeing it and, quote, being blown away, right? To say the pun. I didn't expect this to have everything. It has performances that are for the ages. I think Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. as the 2 main characters here, and for both of them to give their career best performances. I didn't expect the score to be my favorite score of the year. I didn't expect the script to be something that I would want to have a paper copy of, which I have the book and I've read it, and it's still incredible to read the script and the screenplay. I didn't expect this 3-hour movie to just fly by and have absolutely no fat. It is just so tight and it moves at a clip and you're never bored for a second, and every moment, every scene, every conversation is all leading to a moment, and then you get an entire other hour afterwards of the aftermath. And the way Nolan is able to weave together all of these vital moments in time, vital moments in perception, vital moments in the way that Strauss looks at Oppenheimer, the way Einstein looks at Strauss, all of these things coalesce together, and he hits the nail on the head right at the end when it matters, and everything comes together perfectly, and everything that he sets up at the beginning in this movie that's a 3-hour R-rated biopic, it feels like the biggest, most explosive blockbuster you've ever seen. And in addition to all of that, what this movie, and of course with Barbie in this Barbenheimer phenomenon, what this did for cinema and bringing people back to the theaters and kind of helping move this train along around the curve away from these superhero movies and all the sequels and all this stuff. Even though I love superhero movies, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is in my top 10, okay? I love those movies. But this Barbenheimer phenomenon helped move general audiences away from sequels and remakes and superhero movies and showed them that creator-driven original movies can be fun and can be big and expansive and can make you feel something. And the fact that I had to wait in line for Barbie, I had to wait in line for Oppenheimer, I was sitting in an IMAX theater full of young people seeing a 3-hour biopic about J. Robert Oppenheimer. I mean, it's just what this did this year was incredible, and I think it's the only way theaters could survive going forward is if this happened. This gives us a lot of hope and a lot of momentum. So, I hope that was good. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope it was worth it for all of us involved. I hope it was worth it. I think you should check out our show, Quarter Twins, where we got episodes coming up. We got good stuff happening. We need more people to join us along for the ride of 2024. It could be a rough year for movies. This year really spoiled us. So it could be something. But I will see you all in the next one.